Okay, so welcome to the stream. Hopefully, I am live. I don't do live very often. However, I have been playing around with OpenClaw. I've learned a lot, so I figured why not? Let's try to do a stream and see if I can, showcase what I've learned. Let me just get my OBS docs correct. That way, I can sign into the chat and respond. Just bear with me. Gotta do some sign in stuff here. Okay, there we go. So I think I am now officially all set up. Sorry, I could not get my camera working. But I'm here essentially. I have set up a virtual machine on my Proxmox system. Let's see if it is online. All right, not that. Let me go over to the machine. So I got to log in on this other machine here. Okay, so I am logged in on the machine. Now, let me do an ls to check out. So I'm going to do the OpenClaw install from scratch. So I'm going to remove all my previous files. So I'm going to do OpenClaw reset. Let's do a full reset on OpenClaw. There we go. Hit remove, and it should remove that. OpenClaw gateway stop. Worst case scenario, I'll end up creating a brand new user. In that case, yep. Okay, got you. Perfect. Yeah, there are things that I wanted to uninstall, so I'm just making sure. All right, Node should be installed. So, because I wanted to do this from scratch, let me. Okay, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and remove my entire Linux homebrew system. Let's see, brew dash version. Okay, cool. So I don't have that, and it's just Node that I have installed, so I want to uninstall that. Okay. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and create a brand new user. And let me bring up my notes over here on the side. Okay, so I'm going to do a sudo user add. Make sure the user has a home directory. I'm gonna create a brand new user and do the install from scratch, essentially. I'm gonna make sure the terminal is going to be bash, so bin bash, and then the name of the user, I'm gonna say it's gonna be claw user, and I'm gonna add them to the group sudo so they can do elevated commands. I'm then going to change the password of that user, claw user. All right, perfect. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of the session and do a new session where I log in as that brand new user. Perfect. And I'm going to delete that previous user since I no longer am going to need that user. All right, and I'm going to have to reboot the system real quick. Let me do that. It'll take a moment because I want to make sure that I do this as a fresh install so you guys can kind of follow along on the guide. So I'm creating a brand new user called Claude user that I'll utilize for this demonstration. While I'm waiting for this to boot up, OpenClaw, basically it is an AI gateway. So you still have to have some type of model you're going to connect to. So that could be an external model such as GPT, Google Gemini, Anthropic, or you can also use local models as well using Olama and the models that work with that the open source ones. And that's actually what I ended up doing. I have spare hardware. If you follow some of my previous videos, I had a previous build, an AM4 motherboard. And so what I did was I cannibalized some parts to make a new build, but that old build is back up and running, and now it is in my home lab slash server. And and so now I'm running Olama on that server. So really cool. And while I'm here, 1 second. Double check something in my live video settings. I should have put some claw, tag AI, tech. Um, okay. Needed to update the description with a couple of hashtags there. Okay, all right, so we're back. We should be able to log back in. Perfect. I'm gonna do an ls on the home directory and make sure homebrew is gonna be completely removed. First. I need to do a sudo on that. All right, and then where is node? Okay, there we go. Perfect. So I think I have the stuff uninstalled that I needed to have uninstalled, and we're ready to move forward. So what I'm going to do is first make sure I have an apt update, and I will need to ensure that I have Git as well as curl on this machine. So I'm going to paste that in, sudo apt update, sudo apt install, and then sudo apt install Git. Okay, so that is complete. I've already added my user account. Next up, I'm going to want to install Homebrew and Homebrew itself. And I'll provide you the link, Homebrew. And I'm on a Linux Debian system, by the way. If I do a cat etc os release, you can see I'm on Debian Linux, the version there. Specifically, I'm running Ubuntu server. And if we come over here to Homebrew, come over here, click on that homepage link, and this is the command that we're going to use. Homebrew is just a package manager. And also, you don't. If you try to run it as root, it's going to give you an issue or a login issue. So you don't want to run it as root. Instead, you want to run as a user that doesn't have root permissions. So you could have they could have sudo permissions, which is fine, just not root permissions. And we're gonna go ahead and hit enter. All right. Okay. All right, so that has been installed Homebrew. Now you'll see immediately these next steps. So what you need to do is Homebrew needs to be on your system path. So when you install it, it doesn't understand where it is. So if I just type in brew, like dash dash version, it's going to give an issue. So what I'm going to do is just want to copy that command exactly. If my copy and paste works, there we go. Copy, paste it in, hit enter, do that previous command, and now brew, it knows where it is. So I can start calling that. And again, Homebrew is just a tool that you can utilize from the command line, just like other package managers, to install software. All right. So next up, what we're going to want to do is install Node. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the command. And it's just going to be brew install node, and then you can do at the specific version you want. So I'll do it at 24. I believe that's the latest version. Hit enter. And it's going to go ahead and download everything it needs. So these are the dependencies that Node itself does require, which is why it's downloading these other items. Okay. And again, this right now is just the prerequisites that we're doing. This is a fresh instance of Ubuntu server. For those that are, if there's anybody running Proxmox, you're gonna have an issue if you try to run OpenClaw on an LXC machine, because there's an issue with System D that you just don't get the correct permissions from. So you'll have to run it on an actual virtual machine in that case. Something I kind of found out the hard way. In addition, you can run this on a virtual private server as well, because again, OpenClaw is just a gateway. So you set up your API keys, and it just has internal logic that helps the model run efficiently or to your specifications. Now, if you're going to run a local model such as Olama, then of course you're going to want a more powerful machine, and you might have issues with a virtual private server unless you're going to try to get a big beefy one. But even in that case, you're really probably going to want something with a GPU, which is why I do have my spare computer in my home lab downstairs that does have an RTX 3060 in it, and that's enough to run Olama on that. So, okay, all right. So Node has been installed. And if I'm going to scroll back up a little bit, and just like Homebrew, Node needs to be on your path. So it's trying to tell you you need to make a modification where you put Node on your path. So I'm going to do the profile, and technically, I think I need to do bash RC instead. Uh, a dot profile or dot bash rc, this is a script that gets loaded up when your session starts. For some reason, and maybe I'm just unaware, the dot profile does not get loaded. So if I were to restart this machine or log out and log back in, it would not understand where node is. So I'm just going to change the location of where it's saying to echo this path out to. So matter of fact, I'm just going to go ahead and grab this right here, and I'm going to do, I have a text editor, Vim. That's my favorite text editor. And I'm going to do bash RC. It's a special file that does exist in my user home directory. Hit enter. And then I'm just going to scroll all the way down to the bottom by doing a Shift G. And then I'm going to put it at the bottom. Now, you know what? Actually, technically, I'm going to put it in a bash. Okay, never mind. I'm going to do this. I'm going to copy this logic, because technically, normally you want to put it in a separate file that just gets loaded. So I'm going to say, there we go. If .profile exists, then load that file. And Linux. And we're going to go ahead and take Homebrew out of this as well. This is just my preference. Delete that. Vim-profile. Okay, so that already exists. Then it loads bash.profile. Ah, dang, I lost it. Oh, let me go ahead and copy it back. All right, I need that. I'm just being extra right now, so this is on me. Right here. Why didn't it didn't paste in there? Go. Go back to my bash RC. I'm just doing extra stuff. I shouldn't have tried to do stuff on the fly. Okay, so that's there. That's fine. And then, yeah. There we go. Gotcha. Okay, sorry. Something looks wrong with that. Let me scroll back up. There you go. All right. So there's that bash RC. Okay, what just happened? Okay, node dash version, brew dash version. Okay, we're all good. All right. Whew, that was a little detour. Okay, so now we're ready to install OpenClaw. And since I'm doing it with Node, I have npm install /g for global, and then OpenClaw I'm just going to do the latest version. I'm okay with that. And it's going to take a minute, but it's going to go ahead and start downloading the resources. And again, while we're waiting on this, more about OpenClaw. So the way that it works is that once the install is complete, you have the ability to configure the agent on OpenClaw. Think about an agent as being a personality. So it has special markdown files like its soul, its identity, user information about you, tools that it can utilize. In addition, you can create skills for it. So you can create very specific, hey, you are a system admin that's excellent at Docker. Well, actually, those are prompt instructions, but instead you can tell it, I want you to deploy this Dockerized application, right? Or you can tell it, oh, I want you to go and create a newsletter. It's something that's programmatic, and it's a specific task. That's what a skill really is. It's a repeatable task. And the more that you use OpenClaw for your specific use cases, you'll understand the different skills that might be helpful. Now you can talk to it because there is a terminal UI directly on your host machine. You can talk to it through there. There is a web interface that you can talk to OpenClaw from as well. In addition, and the best part of OpenClaw, it has what are called channels. Channels are just different external locations that you can communicate to from the bot to the bot. So that could be Discord, Telegram, WhatsApp, Signal, and a whole bunch of other things. But you just set up an integration, so that way those external tools, you can talk to your chatbot outside of your home. So you don't need to be at your house in on your computer. You can open up Telegram or Signal somewhere in the world, and you can talk back to your machine. And of course, that's where security is going to come into play, and that's where when we get into it, I'll talk to you about the pairing options, and then how you can set up a loud list. But that's the thing, it's like an AI, a local AI that can travel with you, especially if you're using something such as Olama. Otherwise, just remember the context is going to go to an external model, such as ChatGPT, Gemini, things like that. So now it has been installed. Now let me see, can I do an OpenClaw -- version? Perfect. So we have OpenClaw version, and the version is dated year, month, day, because they're just releasing updates so quickly. Just because the community is really getting on board with this, and they're just trying to strengthen it. So you're going to see a lot of updates. So you may not always want to do the install latest. You may want to do a specific version, and you can go to the GitHub or the OpenClaw page to find out information on those previous versions. So it is installed. So now what we want to do is we actually want to onboard our first agent, and this is also going to install the gateway for us. So I'm going to go ahead and do, well, actually, before I do that, yes, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to do OpenClaw on board, install daemon. So this is going to install a service file, so that way it can restart the gateway. That's what the install daemon means. So go ahead and hit enter. All right, and it's just letting us know, hey, this is going to be risky. And again, I highly recommend do not put this on your primary daily driving machine. Instead, put this on a virtual machine, ideally one that's heavily sandboxed if you can. Otherwise, you can also use a virtual private server. For testing purposes, you can get a virtual private server for pretty cheap on sites such as Hostinger. I'm not affiliated with them, but I do use them, or an AWS EC2 instance, of course. I highly recommend at least playing around with these tools, because as we know, AI is out of the box. And so it's one of those things, if you don't learn how to use it, you're going to get left in the dust, So, and I'm not talking about any moral implications, all those type of things. All right, so click yes, hit enter. And then you have an option for a quick start or manual. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick start. And then this is where you can set your model. What I'm going to do is I can select my model here, like OpenAI or whatnot. But what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to skip this, because I'm going to show you how you can set up your API keys, because it would want me to paste the API key here. But I'm going to say skip for now. And then you would have the list of providers that you'd want to select. This means the providers that would be available for your agent. In that case. So let's see right. You hit enter, and then these are like GTP, like what models do I want to be available? So I would say GTP for mini. Well, actually, I'm sorry, this is going to be the default model that your tool is going to utilize. So I'm going to say GTP for mini for now. And then you have your integrations that you would have here, your Telegram, your WhatsApp, your Discord. Again, I'm just going to go through this and come back. Skip for now. If I click yes on skills, these are skills that out the box are available for you to enable. So you can just like select the checkbox, and it'll try to install that skill. In that case, all right, skip for now. I don't need to worry about Google Places or Gemini key. You can also integrate with Notion as well, so you can have it connect to your Notion board. API key for if you have OpenAI to generate images. I haven't played around with that one yet. And I'm just saying no for all these, just so you can see what all the options are. And then what we have here is these are different hooks, essentially. So when you start the gateway, there's this boot file, this boot MD, which specifies how you can start setting the personality for the bot. Do you want to enable that when you first start it? Then we have additional files that get injected into the context, command events, as well as session memory. So these are things that you can utilize in this case. And with session memory, when you do a new command, it can save the session stuff. So, but again, I'm also going to skip that for now. Right? Because really what we want to do is get to this gateway service part. And you can see where it's installing that gateway service. It's actually installing it into a local directory for your users called .config. All right. And OpenClaw has stuff such as like being a doctor, but OpenClaw Doctor, so it can self-diagnose itself. So if it does have issues or problems, it has a command for that. It also has a command for a health check as well. So all right, so we have installed it, and you can also set up a browser as well with the Brave API key, which I will be showing how to do. But if I say OpenClaw, let's say gateway status. Okay, so the OpenClaw gateway itself is running. And so what I can do now is I'm going to show you where the files are. So if I do an ls on this directory, ls-la, my apologies, there's going to be this .openclaw directory. So let's change into there. And then we have all these different files. Really what you're looking for is this workspace. This is where your agent, this is the default location that your agent is going to see. And then you have these files that make up its personality and its activities. So if I do a vim on the soul file, this is what sets up the personality of the agent. And you can come in here and you can modify it. And when you actually first deploy OpenClaw, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment, we'll be able to set the settings for that file. In addition, we have the user directory. What does that agent know about you? The tools that it can install. Heartbeat, by default, every 30 minutes, there's a check on certain things. And in the heartbeat file, you can have certain activities or behaviors. Then you have that bootstrap file, which kind of loads the first time you load OpenClaw. And then let's see the agent. I forget what this one, agents.markdown. This way, boom, boom, boom. Just information on how it should behave. We talk about the first run. Memory, it talks about how it's going to set up memory. So it's going to create a memory folder and save daily memories as well as long-term memories as well. And so it's just setting the behavior. How is it going to remember that information? Because that's what drives OpenClaw in the long run. It's going to be a whole bunch of markdown files where it's saving the chats and information about you, and it can condense that information. Okay, so I'm going to come out a directory. I'm going to create a .env file because this is where you can set up your API keys. Give me a moment. Yeah, so this is where you can set up your API keys instead of having to always put them on the command line. I'm just going to do a template really quick. So you would just do it based off the vendor, how they specify how to put the API key in the environment variable. You do Gemini API key equals whatnot. OpenAI API key equals whatnot. Brave API key, that's for a browser. Notion API key. And 11 Labs API key. I want to say those are the primary ones that I've used. So I'm going to save this. Now copy env to .env.back. But that resides in the .openclaw directory, .env. So I'm going to modify that in another terminal. And it just makes it easy. So let me go grab my API keys. OpenAI. Where's my OpenAI key? And you're not seeing what I'm seeing because I'm clearly on another screen. Brave. And 11 labs. Okay, perfect. So now I have saved my API keys. What I can do is OpenClaw gateway restart. This is to verify. I believe if I restart it, it should pick up the API keys. So now I'm going to do OpenClaw config. And this is where you decide if you're using a local or remote gateway. Most likely you're going to use a local gateway. And I'm going to do web tools. I'm going to install Brave as far as a skill. I'm going to enable the search. And notice it's saying, hey, do you want to use the Brave API key, which I do have in my environment. Enter, yes. And continue. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and, because I think it loads on my session. So I'm going to go ahead and load that file. Source.env. There we go. All right, OpenClaw config. Now I'm going to set my model. I'm going to go to OpenAI. I'm going to use an API key. And notice it did pick up my existing key because now I have it in that environment file. So I don't have to put it on the command line. It makes it easy if you're like migrating machines, you can have those API keys in your environment variables. All right. And this is where I'm going to select which, I can do multiple models, which ones I want to make available. So I can say Codex, Chat GPT-5 Mini, 4 Mini. I'll leave that one. So I just want to use these models that aren't too expensive. So yeah, so we'll do with that. Mini, ChatGPT-5 Mini, ChatGPT-5 Codex, and ChatGPT-4 Mini. We'll utilize those ones. And I might use this 4.0 Mini. I haven't played around with that one at all, to be honest. Okay, enter. And now I'm going to go ahead and click continue. And what I'm going to do is do OpenClaw TUI. This is going to be the terminal user interface. Let's test to see, is it responding? Okay, over 10 seconds, I would say there is an issue. Let's check the model. Okay, so it did respond, so it just took a little longer. Let's see. Let's do a status. Okay, that just gives me the heartbeat information, active session. And then the model, 5.1 codec. So I actually do not want to use that model, not for this activity. So I'm going to go up here /model, set the model, GPT-4 Mini I'm going to utilize. That model has been changed. And then come back over here, bootstrap, figure out who we might start here. Let's start with the bootstrap. Okay, so this is the first time I'm running the model. So the bootstrap file is giving it instructions of how we're going to set up OpenClaw. And what should it call me? Call me Trey. Oh, what kind of creature assistant should I be? Your helpful AI assistant. With a sense, well, I'm not even gonna say a sense of humor, just a helpful AI assistant. with a focus on tech, such as IT security and programming. All right, your vibe: casual, concise. Can't even spell. Concise. And your emoji is a lobster. Oh, Jesus. Okay, so it's taking the information and it's updating the user file as well as the identity file. And it's asking about any boundaries or preferences. I'm not going to say anything for now. None at this moment. And then what we can do is there's this context command. You can do context list. And this is going to tell you what's being fed in. So as you're talking to this tool, this is what is being fed into it. So it's not just your chat history, it's the information in that workspace as well. One second. Okay, and then we can see the session tokens and everything. So really good idea to be able to see what's happening there. So now what I'm going to do, we could obviously, well, let's stay here. Let's see. If you do a /, you can see more options that you have. You have thinking, you have reasoning. You can set elevated permissions as well. If you wanted to have like global permissions on your system or specific commands, you can do that. But I'm not going to focus on that for right now. What I'm going to do is go ahead and double check. Yep, ID sub agents kill still. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of actions that you have over here. So I'm going to go ahead and exit. And what I'm going to do is OpenClaw config. I'm going to show you the gateway. And if I could do local, I'm going to go on gateway. This is going to be the default port 18789. Hit enter. And what I'm going to do is then by default, it's only available on the host machine itself. You can make it available on all interfaces if you want. But for security purposes, by default, they leave it locked and then you have to like SSH into the machine. For this demonstration purposes, I'm just going to put it on my LAN interface so it'll be available externally. And then I'm going to have the authentication will be a token. So it's going to generate a token for me. Hit enter. And then go ahead and tail scale. That's just for external exposure on your machine. I don't necessarily need that now, so I'm gonna leave that off. And then here is the token in that case. So I'm going to copy that token, hit enter, hit continue. And I'm gonna open up a new terminal, well, a new browser, but let me go find oh, perfect. 18789. Eight, 7, 8, 9. Looks, oh, the gateway is not, the gateway is closed. So OpenClaw gateway restart. Restart, purchasing the token. Okay, because I guess because it changed the token, it's out of sync. So I'm going to do this command that it mentions. Okay. And this is where I start to have pgrep OpenClaw. Now it says it's running. So let me do OpenClaw TUI. So the gateway is up. So I don't know why it has that message there. There we go. Bring this over here. Over HTTP. So here is the gateway that we have. Now notice you're going to have this message that it wants HTTPS, so it's not secure in that case. So I need to come into the config file. And ideally, you wouldn't want to do this. Ideally, you want to leave the default settings. But I'm just showing you how to get to the gateway from a web user interface. So Vim, OpenClaw, gateway. There's my token. And then there is a setting that I need to perform in order to allow that insecure. But I'll show you how to do that 1 second. I need to find the gateway reference documentation. Oh, wait, I think I may have actually had it on the terminal. I'll go back over there. Yeah, there you go. Yes. So if you want to access it insecurely, and it's just you on your local machine, you come over here to the OpenClaw JSON file, and we add a new line. And it looks like this. One thing I hate in the documentation is that these need quotes, and in the documentation they do not provide quotes for the JSON structure. I don't know why. All right. So control UI allow insecure auth true. Then save that file. Come back. And I think I got to restart the gateway. And you'll learn that you'll have to restart the gateway for certain things. And I believe there might be a setting to have it automatically refresh. I just haven't touched that yet or come across that yet. Okay, come back over. Well, there's something stopping, because when I go to TUI, all right, and it's disconnected. Gateway. Yeah, weird. Okay, and so let's do OpenClaw Doctor. This is going to help it analyze itself. Let's see if anything stands out. I don't need the OAuth directory. And notice it is giving me the security warning because I did do this. I bound it to the LAN, so the external address. So it's just letting me know, hey, this could be an issue. So that's a part of like the check that it does for OpenClaw Doctor. Okay. Yeah, and if I did fix apply, it would do these two things. So nothing's wrong there. So let's check again. Yeah, so it says it's run. So let's stop it. Let's stop the gateway entirely. It's the part of troubleshooting, my friends. TLPN. Just taking a look at my ports, just making sure that I don't have a port already running for the gateway. So 18789 is not running. So let's do OpenClaw gateway start. And status. But I had a lot of troubleshooting issues with this for whatever reason. OpenClaw TUI. Yeah, see there it's closed. Gateway not connected. All right, so let's go to the file itself. Let's go back to the file. Let's go ahead and delete that file. Restart. This is the one thing that was a pain to diagnose when I kept having issues with it. And you know what? It probably okay. So let's do OpenClaw config. Local, go to the gateway. Let's put it back on the loop back address, the 127.0.0.1, the home address. Hit enter. Token-based authentication. Nothing for the no tail scale stuff, and it's going to generate a brand new token. Or this might be the same token. I can't remember, to be honest. All right, click OK. And then let's restart. Token differs. Don't understand it. Worst case scenario, I can always reset. Yeah, matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and reset. So we're going to reset the config.json. Then if we ls, the config.json is gone. So we'll do that OpenClaw onboard install daemon again. All right, hit yes. Quick start. API key. Existing. Current model. We'll do mini. I'm going to come back to the whole Telegram will be the integration that I'll do, but I'm going to come back to that. No skills for now. And we'll do these files here. I've already done the boot MD. That was when we were in the terminal interface and was asking me those questions about his personality. So I'm going to skip that, but I'm going to have those other hooks enabled. Hit enter. Let's go ahead and reinstall the gateway. Okay, and uninstalled it, reinstalled. Status. Okay, it says it, OpenClaw TUI. See, and it is connected. So that's just a weird thing there. Let's go ahead and exit and do the status. Yeah, and now it's running. So yeah, so maybe I need, yeah, it's weird for some reason. So we're gonna just leave this as the loopback address, and let me go find how to create an SSH connection so I can get into the gateway. So one moment here. We'll just need remote access. Here, and I'll bring this over here. So yeah, I'm in the OpenClaw documentation. So I'm underneath the gateway and ops. So it talks about remote access. And so you need to, on your host machine that has the gateway, you'd put this in, and this would allow a tunneled connection where then I can access it over the external IP address. A little weird, but well, not weird. It is a security reason. So you just don't open it up to everyone. You have to have a specific connection set up per user. So, and this is just for the web interface that the tool comes with. We're going to utilize Telegram or other tools, but at least to get to that web interface, I'm going to open up a brand new terminal on my host machine now. I'm outside of the VM. And then I need to put in the actual IP address, will be 192.168.1.108. And then the user will be claw user. Wait, sorry. Oh, wait, sorry. Yeah, I'm confused. Sorry, I did that wrong. I need to paste that in again because the -L is my it's going to open up this port on my local machine, and then I need to do claw user at and then the remote machine 1.108. And then we put in the password for the user, and now it doesn't look like it did anything, but a connection is open now. So if I come over and I come back over to OpenClaw, what I do is instead of the external address, I put in my local address, 127.0.0.1. And now this opens. And now, because this is a web interface that comes with OpenClaw, what I do is I come over to the overview, and it wants the current gateway token. So I'll come back into OpenClaw, and I can find that by doing a cat open.json grep token. This should be my gateway token. And come back over here, enter that in, connect, and now we are officially connected to OpenClaw. So this just from the web interface. So I can come in here and I can chat to the tool. So I can say again, hello. And now this is reaching out to GPT, the model that I set up directly on the terminal. So I can just have this chat interface directly from the tool. So if this is really all you want from OpenClaw, like you don't need to have, if you don't want or need to have an external channel such as a Telegram or a Discord, but you still want a web interface, you can chat from here. So I can say, for example, create a Python script for a quiz about Doctor Who. Provide 3 choices, a maximum of 5 questions each. Keep score. Hit enter. And there we go. So it creates that Python script. It gives me the code. And it asks me, does it want to save it? And I'm going to say yes, as a matter of fact. Go ahead and save the script, and it's going to save it in its workspace. All right, perfect. All right, and so if I come back to the terminal, if I go to the workspace and I do an ls, there we go. We have this Doctor Who quiz that it did create. We'll do Python 3 Doctor Who quiz. And it looks to be functional. Who was the first actor to play Doctor Who? William Hartnell. That's a 1. What is the name of the Doctor's time machine? There's a TARDIS. That's 2. Which companion traveled the longest with the Doctor? Sarah Jane. What is the Doctor's home planet? Gallifrey. And for the last one, who is the 10th Doctor? I'm going to say Capaldi, because I know he's not the 10th Doctor, but I want to get it wrong. Yes, I finished. I scored 4 out of 5. So it quickly created a simple application for me. One second. I'm sorry. I lost my OBS so I can see the chat. I always want to make sure you got the chat on display. I think the wife just came home. The dog is on a. Gotcha. So yeah, so you can then just begin chatting with OpenClaw directly from that web interface. And in fact, there's more things that I could do. I could have it create skills. I can come over here, set up the channels in the UI as well. You can set up cron jobs. So if you want something for it to schedule, repeatedly, you can set up that cron job. Agents. So you can set up actually multiple agents if you want to, and then give it information of what does it have. Skills. I haven't created any skills as of right now, but let's say we want to make that a skill. Matter of fact, let's come over here, turn this into a skill, and save in your skills folder. Ensure to use front matter for a name and description of the skill. I had to give a little bit more information because the skills require front matter, which is a markdown syntax at the top of the file where it specifies the name and the description of the skill. All right, it says it did create that skill. Let me come over here. Let's do a refresh. Don't see it there. Let me come back to the terminal. There is a directory called skills. Do ls, change directory into Doctor Who, ls, and there is this cat. Now it shouldn't be a README file. It should be a skill file. So let's move README. Am I tripping? Wait, what just happened? Oh. And directory Dr. Coos, and then README to skill.markdown. Then let's do OpenClaw skills list. And there we go. We have Doctor Who listed as that Python skill. And let's do a refresh. And then there's one workspace skill, Doctor Who, right there, which is enabled. So if I come back over here to the chat, let's see, run this skill. Not sure if it will be able to, but if anything, here, yes, interactively. And it might not be running the way that so probably not a good idea for a skill. Maybe a newsletter is a better idea for a skill. I'll just do ... There we go. Gotcha. All right, so who is the first actor to play the Doctor? Dan will say William Hartnell. Because really, skills should be background task, essentially, that it's passing the information to, I believe. Let's see if this will work, but it might not work the way that I intend. Okay, so it looks like it is passing it to the background process. So now skill number 2 was the name of the Doctor's time machine. We'll do a TARDIS. Now just running a little slow because it's a foreground process. It's passing it to another process, but this is just the idea of seeing it do a skill in that case. And then at any point I can just say, stop right there. A better skill might be a YouTube description. So I can say, create a skill to generate a YouTube title and description with good SEO terms based off a topic provided. And I will say, and because I'm using a lower model, it doesn't understand that the file needs to be different. Essentially, it should need to be skills.markdown and not a README. I don't. Looks like I can't change the model here. Let's see. Yeah, I was trying to see if I can change the model on the fly here. Let's see, maybe I can ask it to. Can you change your model to GTP5 Mini? Yes. Session status. Switches times. New model. Yeah, so in other tools, like you do have a / where you can like change it easily. And maybe I didn't. Let me go check my models that I have. So I'm gonna go to OpenClaw config, and I typed it wrong. OpenClaw config. Local model OpenAI API key existing. Oh, I didn't. I thought I loaded Mini. I guess I did not. That's weird. All right, so let's load Mini 405 and then hit enter. Continue. Restart the gateway. All right, we restarted it. Let's see if this is still up. It's not. Let's come over here. Connection. And connection refused. This gateway issue. Again, we're still running these gateway issues. I don't understand. OpenClaw. Let's do this. Sudo systemctl status. OpenClaw gateway service. So let's do a sudo vim etc systemd system Yeah, because the file shouldn't exist. Okay, so TLUPN. Oh, here it is. Yeah, so look at that. It is running, and it's running two of these instances, which doesn't make sense. So let's stop. And one of these my okay, one of these would be my external connection. So run it again. All right, the port is closed. So we verified the port is closed. So start. Check the port. And it's not running. I really don't understand why the gateway, I've been having this issue. This is the one problem that I have with OpenClaw. Let's just run it without the start command, and this should run it live in the current terminal interface. The gateway is supervised. Stop it with OpenClaw. And it says it's already running with this process. Yes, right. So now it is running. And now it's connected. So something, I don't know, it feels like it's trying to run two sessions for whatever reason. So I should be able to connect back to it. And then we refresh our browser, and then we're back in. What model are you using? And you switch to GTB5 Mini. Is not allowed for this session. Maybe new session. Let's try that. And this is where you have to like just play around with OpenClaw. You have to understand, like you have to get in there and understand like how to diagnose and things like that. Because this is still low level stuff. We're not doing a lot of crazy stuff yet at this point. We're really just talking to the tool, seeing what the output is. Tackle right now. Okay. Switch to model GTP5 Mini. There we go. Perfect. So now it has switched to that model. Okay. All right. So create a skill for a skill to generate a YouTube title description with good SEO terms and hashtags based on a topic. Okay, it's taking a little longer than expected. Okay, there we go. Okay, mystery packaging, skill creator. There we go. Name, description, which is what it should look like. Okay. All the way down. This is very detailed, by the way. And I think because thinking is on, so I'm seeing some more of its internal processes, I believe. And so let me come back over to the terminal. I'm going to go back, LS, and there you go, YouTube SEO Gen. Is that what it called? Because it tried to do it before, but this is title gen. So I'm going to remove recursive force, YouTube SEO generator. And then let's change directory to the YouTube title gen, hat on the skill. Yep, name and description at the top, exactly what it wants. Because then if I do an OpenClaw skills list, YouTube title gen, same thing if I come over here, we have that YouTube title gen right there. All right, so run the skill, and the topic is Resident Evil Requiem. And the final game for Leon Kennedy, because I feel like he's gonna die in the game. And perfect. So we get a title. Is Resident Evil Requiem the final game for Leon Kennedy? Here's the description, which is considers it the hook, and it even gave me more information that I didn't expect, including like timestamps. So now I have a skill that I can utilize in that case. So yeah, so this is there are going to be more videos in the series that I'm going to try to do. This was just how to get it up and running, and really this was more on the machine, diagnosing, understanding where the system files are, because you want to go deeper, because when something goes wrong, which it did in this stream, you're going to know where to go or what to do in that case. And there's also the idea, and I've seen it on the OpenClaw site, is that you have two agents, one agent that's up and diagnoses when your primary agent goes down, which is actually pretty cool. But in addition, I could even have it. Matter of fact, there's one more thing that I'm going to do. I'm going to have it deploy a Docker container. Let's do that. So first off, do I have Docker installed? Let me check. I do have Docker installed. Let me check what groups my user. My user is not a member of the Docker group. So what I need to do is a sudo user mod ag docker, and then claw user. So I'm gonna put this user in the Docker group. Now, what I do have to do is for OpenClaw to recognize this, I'm gonna have to restart my machine entirely so it can pick up that user, because OpenClaw is running underneath this claw user. So it's going to have the same permissions, the same group, but in this case, it has to restart the session to pick it up. So which is going to require a full reboot. So we're going to reboot this machine, give it, turn it back up, but I'm going to show you how I can get it to deploy a Docker container with very little commands. So this is where we start to we're going to start to see how we can have even more power with these tools as long as it has the correct permissions. But also beware, this is where these AI or agentic tools, as we give them more permissions, they are going to be able to do things that we probably do not anticipate, which is why you don't want it on your primary machine. Ideally, you'd want it on a secondary machine where it's a virtual machine or a virtual private server, which is, again, what I highly recommend. So let's see, it is back up. And then let's click on groups. So it is in the Docker group now. So I'm going to come back over here. Let's go ahead and, oh, well, I need to see, is the connection back up? And it is. At least the gateway is online after a reboot. So it looks like whatever was happening there it's been resolved, and I can easily come back in. So I'm going to do a new session here. And we're just going to give it a minute. Not a literal minute. It should take a few seconds just to respond. There we go. Let's see. Let me come over here real quick. Let's Go to settings, all settings. Let me save some. 1 second. Yeah, I was trying to make it. Yeah, I think again, I still think I'm getting some of its thinking capabilities. But anyway, I'll deal with that later. So now I'm going to tell it. I want it to give it a skill to deploy an Nginx container. Pretty simple. So create a skill to deploy a Nginx Docker container. Provide the URL for the external link once the container is running. Bind it to the local host port of 8080. So this is where we're gonna see whether or not I do need to change it to a more advanced model. I'm just telling it to deploy a Docker container, so it should be able to go out and get as much information as it needs. If it already doesn't have that in the model training information, and it has the ability, because remember I gave my user, the Claw user, I put them in the Docker group, so the underlying OpenClaw will have the same permissions as is running underneath OpenClaw. Well, sorry, Claw user. I guess I should have just called the user OpenClaw, but it is what it is. God, Mini is running slow. Pretty sure I tested this earlier and it was not running as slow as it currently is. But again, this is a real time demo, and I do demos all the time from a regular 9 to 5. It's the demo gods. When things are working offline, it's fine, but when you go to actually do something live, for whatever reason, there's going to be something that happens. So I'm gonna let this run. Let me come back to my terminal, change directory to OpenClaw workspace skills. See, is it doing anything there? So it is doing something there. So it's gone ahead and made the folder, and the skill is there. The script is there. Dare I say, just the interface is just being super slow. Okay, though, there it goes. I was just about to press stop. So yeah, so then it brings back the information again, for a skill to be properly listed at the top of the skill, in front matter. Again, that's just a markdown style. It needs to have the name of the skill and the description of the skill, for it to be properly listed, and then it just kind of breaks it down. So okay, perfect. Oh, did we get an error? Let me see. Skill publications. Skill. Did it just create its own skill creator? Oh, interesting. So I think this is when I was using. Was this before I switched over to GTP5? I think GTP4 created its own way to create skills. That's very interesting. Okay, but we'll come all the way back down to the bottom. Okay. Now holds a full documentation workflow. It did not give me the external. It gave me the loopback address, but let's see if it sees it up and running. So let's go ahead and 192.168.108.8080. And look at that, Nginx is up and running. So now it has a skill to deploy a Dockerized container of an application. I didn't have to go deep into the weeds. I just told it, hey, it's a Docker container. I want you to deploy it. And it opened up that port, and it's bound to the external. Well, the external interface is accessible on, so it's an Nginx container. So let's do something a little bit more. Let's try an actual web application such as JuShop. Create a skill to deploy a container for the Juice Shop web application. Bind it to port 3000. I want to say that's the default port for Juice Shop. Juice Shop is an intentionally vulnerable application that you can use for automated tools and scanning. So it's just it's a good sample application to utilize. So I'm gonna see if it can deploy that. And again, I'm not giving it information such as, hey, where is it? So I think part of it is the GTP tools. I believe it has web access, but remember, I do also have the Brave API key. So maybe in a combination, they're working together. I'll probably try, maybe next time I'll try to disable my Brave key to see whether or not GTP itself is able to go out, or whether it has that information stored locally, maybe, who knows. But yeah, I'm gonna see if it can deploy that. So while it's working in the background, I'm gonna come back, go to skills, and notice it already has Juice Shop, so it's already working on this. And that's the idea with these tools, with these agentic AI tools. You're giving it a command, and it's doing multiple things. That's going to be the future of software development and technology and programming. It's not a step by step. It's, hey, give it enough information of what you want it to do, and you have to think about it as a coworker or an employee to get the best usage out of it. If you stop thinking about it as an AI tool and you think about it as, hey, you're someone that I'm delegating a task to, your conversations are going to become more natural, in my opinion. Okay. Give me the information. Boom, 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 boom. Yep. Container ID. Again, it's giving me a lot of information. There is a setting where I think you can limit, because it's probably verbose. Maybe it's just giving a lot of information that I don't need all of this. But now 3000, and I'll do 3000. I think I have to type in Juice Shop, and that's 300. And there we go, Juice Shop. So this is a Dockerized application. Again, a well-known vulnerable application. I just told it to deploy it and have it open on this interface. And I can do a Docker PS. And as you guys saw, I did not deploy these manually. I told the tool to deploy these. So, and now it has a skill. And now I can tell it, matter of fact, stop all containers. Because again, it has the permissions that I've allowed, because it's running under that user, Claw user, which is a part of the Docker group, which is why it has permissions to run these Docker commands. All right, perfect. So they should be stopped. Docker PS, containers are stopped. And we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna tell it to, and the site should be down, obviously. All right. Run the Juice Shop skill. Or rerun the Juice Shop skill. The idea is now you want to have like natural language, right? I don't want to tell it to redeploy the container. I want to tell it, hey, we've now configured, you have this skill. I want you to use that skill. Like I shouldn't have to tell you more information is the idea. So again, natural language. I may have to, let's see. Okay, it said it's back up and running. Then just giving a whole bunch of extra output. Refresh. And then the site is back up and running. So I have now created a skill where it can redeploy this application. So you think about it, at this point, I could then, if I wanted to, I can do development on this application and I can tell it to spin it up or spin it down if I'm like working on those folders, and I don't have to do that part of the exercise. So that is going to be the meta benefit as you're playing around with what OpenClaw. Geez, sorry, if you're playing around with OpenClaw, is you're going to notice things that, oh, can it automate this? Can it do that? And you have to really get your hand on the tool to really understand what it can do. Because it's not, and this is the most simplest basic example, but again, you can do it where you connect this to Telegram and you can say, hey, view this URL, summarize it, give me a YouTube description, then upload that to a task management board, maybe. You can do all those type of things, but I do recommend, if you're going to play around with the tool, walk before you crawl. Like, learn how to install it, learn where the files are, how to configure it, how to set up its personality, its soul, all those type of things, because that's going to, because you're not, again, you have to think about it as you're setting up a coworker or an employee. If you change your mental state to that, it's going to mean more to you. You have to really not think, oh, I'm setting up an AI tool, right? You have to think about, I'm setting up this assistant for myself or for my business or whatnot to help me. And it's going to make you feel more engaged. And you're going to really get into those markdown files to give it the information about you that's relevant. And also, again, be careful, as opposed to if you're using an external model, such as a ChatGPT or a Gemini or whatnot, as opposed to a local model. Because remember, everything I sent to this prompt, because it's an external model, all of that is going to the prompt. Luckily, I'm not sending anything sensitive, but let's say you have information that's very sensitive to you in that, and I'm going to come back to the files really quick in the workspace, because by default, the OpenClaw agent sees everything in the workspace here, or at least these markdown files. So if you come over here and you add sensitive information about yourself to this user.markdown file, like for example, my name is Trey. I didn't add much more information, but if you do add that, it's like maybe you add your address, maybe for whatever reason you add your social security number or passwords, that's going to go to these external models. All of these text files are going to be a part of the context. That's the thing. So you want to be careful if you're going to use an external model. If you do have resources to have an additional machine on-prem or in the cloud, then I would recommend you can play around with those local models, because then you can work with your data locally. So just something to consider, because you just have to remember, OpenClaw itself is a framework and a gateway. It's still sending it to whatever model you've connected it to. So if it is external, then your sensitive information is gonna go externally. So just be aware of that. So that's going to be it for today's live stream. I'm going to try to do more this week, because I've learned a lot as I've played around with the tool. And again, that's the thing. You have to get your hand on the tool, play around with it to understand its capabilities and how you're going to fine tune it to you. So I'll be looking to do another one tomorrow, maybe around the same time. We'll see. But with that said, thanks for dropping in, watching the stream. If you're watching on a replay, leave a like or a comment. Let me know like what else you want to see, because the next videos I'm going to get more into the actual integrations, more into what they call the channels. So setting it up for a WhatsApp, a Discord, a chat GTP. Sorry, not chat GTP, but WhatsApp, Discord, and Telegram. Sorry about that. Setting it up for those. So again, then it becomes, you don't need to sit at your computer to interact with your OpenClaw instance, and you could be out in the world. But it's also going to be about locking that down. So that's it for today's stream. Thanks. Take care.